Too much
Have
media.
fun.
Tune in
Much
to
media.
welcome to Too Much
Done saying
Media.
I'm done playing. Last time I was on the outro.
Okay, hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm feeling a little naughty, so I thought we would talk about bleaching because as you know, this is a creative mastery channel. So, a lot of us are artists and, do different things within the space of media. And one thing I've noticed is like the topic going on lately about like, accusing different artists of bleaching. Currently, a lot of allegations have been put on artists such as Tyla, Meg Thee Stallion, Beyonce, about whether or not that they are bleaching. And as we know, bleaching is a $1 billion empire. So like, a lot of people bleach. Like we may not realize as much people as do bleach, but bleaching is prevalent. It's not going anywhere. And it's a popular thing within the space of, artistry and like, trying to get your face out in media of women and men. Actually, I feel like we don't talk about that enough, that like many men bleach. Like look at, for example, Vibes Cartel, he bleaches, and like just many people bleach as a whole. And like this whole topic of like kind of bleach watching, of like, watching out if someone's skin has changed in the slightest, way of getting lighter or darker, which oftentimes is affected by, things like weather, things like sun exposure, things like, fatigue level. Like, a lot of things affect people's reasoning for why their skin gets, brighter or darker. And we love to like kind of skin watch of like, oh, this person is way lighter than they actually are right now. So look, that means they're bleaching and da 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 da. And watching out for, whether or not we can so-called expose so-and-so because we've just found evidence that they're bleaching and things of that nature. And I just wanted to have this conversation of like, the topic of bleaching and like skin watching, because I personally feel that bleaching shouldn't be as villainized as it is. Now, I do understand like the whole conversation in the Black community is that, it's colorist and it adds to like self-hate and things like that. But I feel as though villainizing people for bleaching increases the self-hate more than the bleaching itself. So it's like when you look at someone and get angry at them for deciding that they want their skin tone to be lighter and saying that that's anti-Black and they're not standing with, enjoying being darker, I feel as though that's self-hating in itself too, because it's like, what if I prefer, first of all, Black comes in every shade. So what if I do like being Black, but I also appreciate the lighter tones of Blackness, So it's like because we won't get mad at somebody for tanning extra if they're dark and Black skin, because that's a popular thing online these days too, of girls who are already quite dark skinned wanting to get darker and tanning purposefully, or even putting on spray tans in order to appear darker. So that's become a new popular trend, and we don't villainize those girls for wanting to appear darker. But when people bleach, we villainize them and say that they're anti-Black and bleaching is a $1 billion empire. That's horrible. That should be ended. And how do we get people to stop bleaching? But in my opinion, I feel as though that it's not really a problem in our community in the way where bleaching affects anybody other than the bleacher themselves. Like, bleaching is a problem that affects the person who's actually bleaching, because, bleaching has a lot of chemicals in it. It's bad for the skin, and it causes a lot of just issues internally that, you have to deal with when you bleach, or like it just makes your skin bad and stuff like that. So I just feel as though when we complain about people bleaching, I'm like, I sometimes wonder, who are we complaining for, you know? Like, what is the purpose of being upset with the bleacher? Is it truly because this is having a negative impact on society and like our views, or is it like your personal problem with somebody doing something that is cosmetic at the end of the day and doesn't really affect anybody other than the person himself? And I think that it's because, honestly, like, this whole conversation of the beauty standard being more for light-skinned people, which in the white community, yes, it is. But when we complain about dark-skinned women using bleach in order to be more attractive and get more options within the Black community, that reinforces the idea that within our community as well, the standard should be lighter-skinned women. I feel as though if we just allowed them the ability to brighten their skin if they wanted, and just had our, you know, beauty standard be what we truly think is beautiful based on, I don't know, whatever it is, because at the end of the day, deciding that there is a beauty standard, regardless of what community that we're discussing in, as soon as you add a beauty standard, there's always going to be an outside group. So it's like, okay, is light skin the beauty standard, or is dark skin the beauty standard? Now that you're saying that, okay, we're letting go of the whole skin tone thing being the deciding factor. Now it's going to be something else where there's going to be an outside group where we complain of like, okay, now people are getting nose jobs because we're deciding that the beauty standard within the Black community is a more thinner, longer nose. Okay, no, now it's going to be wide, bigger noses. So then people are going to do a new cosmetic thing to try to get a wide, big nose. Like, for example, recently I found out that the singer Grimes, the one who had a baby with Elon Musk's baby mama, she got her nose widened, for example, and it actually kind of looks quite cute. Like, it's actually nice. Like, it makes, because she's white, like, it adds like a differentiation on her face in a way that it's like, like, you're not just plain white, you know, you're not non-fat plain yogurt. You're like vanilla, you know, like flavor. So it's like, you know, it becomes this thing where it when we're discussing things that are beauty trends and people are doing for cosmetic reasons, it's kind of like complaining about it doesn't actually, like, getting rid of a cosmetic procedure and complaining about its like messed up standard that it's setting for like young women and stuff is in itself kind of counterintuitive, because on the opposite side of the spectrum, as soon as that stops, there will be a new spectrum. Because we can argue that the girls that are out here purposely getting tans and doing spray tans to appear darker will then also end up messing up their skin through overly sun exposure, and that causes, you know, cancerous things and things like that. But I mean, it's cheaper, it's free. At least the sun is, all you got to do is go outside. They can't charge us for that yet. You know, I'm sure they're trying to figure out a way to charge us for sunlight. But like, at the end of the day, when we discuss the bleaching empire and how it's $1 billion empire, like, you guys want an economy to exist or not? Like, we need economy. We need people to buy things. And at the end of the day, a beauty standard is always going to have an outside group. So because we're human beings and we think of things as beautiful and non-beautiful, and we have decision-making factors of like what we think of as better or not better, there's always going to be an out group, which is why I believe that it's counterintuitive to complain about bleaching if you're thinking that this is like a due to you know, colorism and this, like, that and the third. Like, as soon as colorism disappears, if we stop people from thinking that bleaching is the way, a new ism is going to exist. Because of us being human, we're always going to have a standard of beauty depending on the culture and the society at the time. There was a point in time where being overweight was a sign of wealth. Being overweight was a beauty standard. It made you seem wealthier. It made you seem better. It means you could afford food. It means you could afford types of food that had a higher calorie intake. It just, like, I feel as though shaming women for bleaching increases the likelihood of self-hate rather than taking it away, of like you're kind of making them reinforce into their their need to bleach more, because now they have to beat the allegations that they're bleaching. So they have to bleach more, better, find newer bleaches, find better, like keep increasing the way they're bleaching. You know, they have different types of bleach these days where it's like you can even get an IV drip to get your internal organs to bleach your skin for you. Like, you know, look what we did to Michael Jackson. Is like he was so insecure about his skin not being all one monotone of a color that he decided instead to just go fully white. Is like, okay, because you guys would have shamed him for having like mixed skin tones and this figured pattern on his skin. So he thought that bleaching was a better option rather than to be seen with different skin tones covering his body. So it's like a thing where in the same breath where you think you're saving the day by encouraging women to embrace their skin tone of being dark, it's like you're also encouraging the ones who just genuinely like themselves better as a light-skinned woman to bleach, because you're telling them that they have to like themselves as a dark-skinned woman, and they don't want to. Like, why can't, I don't know, I feel like this idea like that we have where like we shame women for deciding on doing different types of cosmetic things that make them feel better about themselves is like, who are you actually thinking you're helping right now? It's like, I like how I look in this way. Who am I bothering by bleaching? And another reason I feel as though that we should stop, like, you know, shaming people for bleaching is because at the end of the day, they're ruining their own skin. You know what I'm trying to say? So we're talking about how, like, you know, this is a problem because of colorism. This is a problem because of this, that, and the third. I never seen somebody bleach for an extensive amount of time and in the long run look better. They always end up looking worse than the actual dark-skinned woman who we're saying is, even the light-skinned woman who bleached to get even lighter than they already are. Like, I never seen a bleacher just look better. They always look worse after a while. Like, I've seen some bleachers where it's like they look a bit better, but it's like, because bleaching is a thing where you got to keep doing it to keep up. It's like, after a while, you look crazy too. So, I mean, we're really complaining, I feel as though, about nothing when we complain about people bleaching. I feel like it doesn't really make sense to shame people about it. And that if we embraced bleaching as just a cosmetic procedure that is like on the equivalence of like doing makeup or like, you know, getting an ear piercing or tattoo, then women would bleach less, honestly. I feel as though the fact that we shame people for bleaching is what keeps people wanting to bleach, because then they see the results of other bleachers who went through the shame and they're like, oh my God, but her life is so different now that she's light skinned. Let me try too. Whereas like, okay, if we saw that like bleaching was just like a random thing, some people do it, some people don't, most people do it and end up looking worse. Most people would be like, oh, after a while, she kind of ended up looking bad. Like her skin turned green. She kind of looks crazy. Like, I'd rather have healthy skin than bleached skin. Then after a while, like people would just kind of be like, yeah, bleaching isn't worth it. But because we shame, I think a lot of times when you add shame to things, it increases people's feeling of like kind of having to combat the shame by continuing into it deeper and longer because of the shame associated to it. I feel as though it really doesn't harm society as much as we claim it to be. I know we talk about young girls and things like that, of like, what are the examples we're setting? But at the end of the day, there's always going to be a cosmetic standard for a time that young girls are going to reach for. And if we shame bleaching, it's going to make them too shameful to experiment. Because at the end of the day, cosmetics, a lot of it is experimentation. Sometimes you will see a bleacher who will try it out and stop. Like, there's this one a YouTuber who's popular in the UK. His name is Good Phillip. And he's like a gay Jamaican man who always had like felt that the standard, and like especially in the gay community, because they're kind of like increasingly worried about cosmetics almost as equally as like the women community. It's like he felt as though being light skinned would get him more opportunities and more like, better options in the dating realm in his gay community. And so he used to bleach. But he came on the internet not too long ago and talked about his journey to stop bleaching and finding a way to love himself, and realizing that bleaching was actually ruining his skin and actually not giving him the confidence he thought it would give him, because he felt as though if he were lighter, it was temporary. Temporarily it did work. It did make him feel better. It did make him think that he looked better. But after a while, he realized that those internal insecurities that he was trying to fix through bleaching couldn't be solved by an external solution, such as changing his skin tone. There was internal work that he had to do that eventually he came to loving himself enough to stop bleaching. So it's like, sometimes when you shame someone, their ability to like turn it around and like be like, you know what, I realized that it was actually an internal issue, not an external issue. They'll be so shameful to like be seen as realizing that they were wrong, that they'll get deeper into it. I think about that and I wonder how many people bleach only because they've already been known to be a certain skin tone, and they know stopping would then expose them to everybody that they've been bleaching. But if we thought of bleaching as just something people tried out sometimes, they would just stop after a while and realize, yeah, I liked being that skin tone for a little while, and this is what I noticed about, people's treatment of me and how like it made my looks feel and how I felt internally. But now I feel as though I'm going on a health journey that I want to kick using ultra chemical things. Like I think about that in a lot of realms, like even food, where people are so used to eating unhealthy food that when they start eating healthy food, they feel shamed because eating healthy is equivalent to like being on a diet. So they feel like everyone's always constantly thinking that they're on a diet just because they genuinely enjoy food. Like I've faced that a lot in my life, where it's like anytime I pick up something healthy, someone is accusing me of being on a diet. And I'm like, I like healthy food. What's wrong with y'all? Like, not everyone wants to fill their body constantly with processed food just to prove to people that they are normal or not disordered or not on a diet. It's like, why do I have to insert chemicals into my body just so I'm considered normal? Why can't my normal be that I like healthy foods? So it's like, why can't my normal be that I like my skin tone a little bit lighter, but that doesn't mean I think being lighter skin. And I feel like that's what you end up associating in people's brain, that being lighter is better when you shame bleaching. Because if you thought of it as like, oh, people just bleach, it wouldn't be like, oh yeah, you're bleaching because you want to be better and that's why you think that being light is better. It would be you're bleaching because you feel like being fucking light. Like, what's the problem? What's the smoke with wanting to be light skinned? I feel like, shaming people for wanting to be light skinned adds to the pedestal that you're claiming that bleaching is giving it. I feel like bleaching itself is just a process. It can't speak to what the society thinks of a skin tone. It's just a cosmetic procedure. But you thinking that a person is better thinks that they think they're better after they bleach is adding to that societal thing that you claim that they're the one adding to it. You and yourself are the one doing it by, shaming them because you think that they're trying to better themselves by bleaching. What if they're just trying to enjoy their life and they don't mind having chemicals on their body? Just like people who eat ultra processed food don't mind having the chemicals ingested when they eat ultra processed food. Like, everyone's different and they have like different expectations for their own life. I feel as though that the people who shame bleaching are worse than the actual bleachers. I feel as though we need to get past the point of thinking that bleaching is bad and like kind of level up on the Black community's way of thinking of ourselves and what things are good versus bad. I feel like sometimes we're trained to, shame each other for doing things that we're claiming that Europeans are the one getting us to do, when they're not even paying attention to whether or not we're doing. I've never seen white people talk about bleaching. I've never seen white people say, oh yeah, she got to bleach because she can't look that dark. Da, 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 da. Like, bleaching is not a conversation they have. Like, I feel like it's a conversation more in the Black community, and that most bleachers that I've seen or known are trying to actually get their gaze towards the Black community rather than the white community. I don't think the white community kind of puts us on a hierarchy based off our skin tone as much as we do within each other. I feel as though white people more look at our looks as an overall, and our education and our class as far as, what's it called, financially, to judge us more than they do of like, are you like 2 tones lighter? Because bleaching doesn't even can't, like, literally physically, as much as you bleach, like, to get to that Michael Jackson level of bleaching, you got to have Michael Jackson finances. Most common day bleachers only get their skin tone to get maybe 2 to 3 tones lighter, So is that really going to change your entire identity and experience within the white community? I don't really think so. But in the Black community, it definitely is going to change your results and your experiences. So it's like, okay, like, we're complaining about bleaching, but it's an internal issue rather than an external one. And we're externalizing an issue that isn't technically an issue until we make it one, I feel as though, if you bleach, you have no need, like, you don't owe anybody an explanation to your bleaching. And I feel as though if you bleach, you don't owe anybody a confession that you bleach. Just like I feel as though if you get cosmetic procedures done in plastic surgery and in or like do like Ozempic or like whatever, I feel as though whatever you do to cosmetically make yourself look and feel better is for you to decide, and you shouldn't allow other people's need to shame you, because shame is the biggest issue I feel as though that puts the world into as much turmoil and problems that we really don't need to have, but only exist because that people are shaming each other, And I feel like cosmetically, whatever you decide to do in order for you to look in the mirror and be happy with yourself, it's more important to me that you look in the mirror and you're happy with what you look like than it is for everyone else to be able to give you this stamp of like, you're all natural, da, da, da. Like, even when women like get on these like reality TV shows, for example, and they start shaming each other, well, I'm all natural, baby, you went under the knife, or I don't bleach, you bleach, da, 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 da. Like, all of these things that we do in order to like act like you're better than because you didn't do some sort of cosmetic thing. And it's like, okay, but what if she would have felt horrible about herself if she was 2 tones darker? What if this is how she's able to look in the mirror and be happy? I feel like everyone should has that right and should be allowed to look in the mirror and be happy with what they see, regardless of what they need to do to get there. Like, I feel like that is something that everyone should experience, and that the way that we try to gatekeep beauty as though you're only allowed to be born with beauty. It's like, okay, so anyone who's born without the parents and the genetics to be considered beautiful never gets to get a chance at beauty. We're going to gatekeep beauty in a way where it's like, if you're born ugly, you just got to be one of the bums for the rest of your life. Because you guys know how you treat ugly people. That's why you guys try to shame people who do something in order to make themselves look better. You try to shame them because you know that if they didn't do that, you would have treated them worse. So now that they look in a way that is considered approval to you, now you are like, okay, well, I don't get to like diminish you for being ugly, so now I have to diminish you for doing something to not be considered ugly by me, and basically being seen as invisible by me if I hadn't done this. It's just like, you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't, because if they didn't do that, you would have like never even gave them the time of day. But now that they did do it, you're shaming them for doing it as though they have to just go in a ditch and die because their genetics they didn't hit the genetic jackpot and win the lottery. Isn't this the same thing we complain about when we talk about like class struggles and class battles? There's beauty battles and battles in classes of beauties that we're having as well. These like problems that we face in one form in life, a lot of times they like are expanded into all the ways, but it's just done in a different way, in a different place, but the same thing being done, you know? There's like a class structure in beauty just as much as there is in finance. There's a beauty class structure, a finance class structure, an education class structure. And it's like, whatever you need to do to climb whatever class structure you deem is the important one for you, I feel as though you should, because it's like, you're not going to shame someone for going back to college, even though they like reached the age of, like, they exited the age of what is considered like the natural time of going to college, because you understand that there's a certain structure that they can't like beat unless they actually go to college. So you're going to be like, oh, because you're in your 30s and you're going to college now, your degree is less than the person who graduated college at like 19 or 20 or 21. Like, that person's degree means less because they graduated at a different time. It's like, no, we don't shame that. But if it's beauty and it's like, oh yeah, you weren't born with the perfect nose, so you went to go get a nose job. Now we're shaming the person for going to get a nose job, but you were born with the perfect nose, so you got to just do it at the natural time, which is like the natural way of going to college. Like, it's the same thing. So I feel as though, like, I don't see a problem with bleaching personally, and this like social justice fake activism that people like to do of like saying that we need to get rid of the bleaching empire is like really nonsense, and I will not be backing it and supporting it any longer. Well, not that I have been backing it, supporting. It's not like I've been out here with a picket fence saying stop the bleachers, but it's just like, I feel as though that I sense like in my community a certain amount of like shame that we put against bleachers that I don't like really subscribe to, you know? But yeah. Oh, guys, make sure you're liking, commenting, subscribing, and being active with the channel so YouTube knows that like people listen and watch this channel. Bye.
Attempting to get my attention. I don't like when you're acting too tempted. Relax, you don't need to be mentioned. You could be sent back at the entrance. I can tell you never seen a temptress. So cold, I decide what the temp is. I like when you talk cause you meant it. If I picked, I'm the one that I went with.